attending today's lecture. I am part of the Native American Center of Excellence grant here at the University of Montana. Within the College of Health, we work with the Skaggs School of Pharmacy to put on these lecture series. And today we have Amber Braverock, who will speak about her pharmacy career story. So thank you for attending.
Hello guys, thank you for attending. I drove up from Great Falls, which is where I live, so drove that today. Got to about Potomac and I got an alert that it was emergency travel only, but I made it. The roads are actually fine. I'm a clinical pharmacist and pharmacist informaticist for IHS. I currently work at the Blackfeet service unit, which is in Browning, Montana. I grew up about 40 miles north, closer to the Canadian border, on the Blackfeet reservation. So I work at home. Who am I? So there's Bab, way up there by the Canadian border. I'm an enrolled Little Shum of the Chippewa Cree, and I'm a direct descendant of the Blackfeet tribe. If you ask me who I am, I always say I'm Blackfeet. I grew up on the reservation there. That's where my home is. That's where my family is. My Blackfeet territory is definitely instrumental in who I am and where I come from. I graduated with my doctorate from the university here in 2010. I took the long way around, the very long way around. I have 4 kids and a grandson. My kids are, oh yeah, come in. My kids are 24, 21, 13, and 11, and I have a 1-year-old grandson. This has been my driving force for life, basically. As a teen mom, I had my first when I was 19. I knew I wanted to do something with my life. I grew up around pretty impoverished, like most kids on the reservation, and around a lot of addiction and dysfunction, and that was life. It was normal for me. It was never an issue until I actually got to college and was like, whoa, not everybody lives like this. You know, the dysfunction and addiction was really only a part of my life. I felt like when I got close to people and actually opened up and had really close classmates, I kind of had to come to terms with that. I definitely went through some culture shock. I grew up exclusively on the reservation, so I was part of a majority population. Everybody, almost the majority of everybody, looked like me, sounded like me, talked like me, had the same mannerisms, you know. And then I came here and I was a lot different. So you come to a lecture hall with 200 people and you really feel like everybody's looking at you when they're not. It's just this internal stuff going on. So I struggled with that for a bit. So the Native American Center of Excellence has been instrumental in my success. Estella Anderson was one of the directors at that time, and she came to the Blackfeet Community College. My son was 1 and asked me to apply for a summer enrichment program, and that's kind of where my journey began. I knew I wanted to leave, but I really didn't have the tools to or know what to do, where to go, how to do it, and HCOP, which is Health Careers Opportunity Program, gave me that little boost and encouragement. And I went for 2 summers, and it really opened the doors for me and kind of shed light on what I want to do with my life. My first year here was a disaster because, like I said, I came from a family I didn't really have any structure, so college life was not only new for me, but everybody around me. So I didn't really have anybody to lean on. to ask for advice or go to, and we couldn't really relate in those terms. So building a support system here was instrumental, and that's what this program does. The pain center wasn't here, so we really didn't have like a centralized place to go. We had the old building, which was a little log cabin just on the side of campus here. But we didn't really go there a whole lot. So I stuck to going up to Estella's office in the pharmacy school, even when I wasn't in pharmacy school. So I ended up going to what is now the Missoula College, but the College of Technology, and getting my certification to be a pharmacy technician. And Lisa Venuti was the director there, or the instructor for the tech program, and it was her first year there. And it was pretty easy for me, and she did recognize that, and she was like, hey, you should go back to main campus and consider pharmacy school. So she kind of gave me, I didn't even think of it. She kind of encouraged me to come back to main campus and go. And then I just went straight through from there. I did my undergrad, got into grad school, but definitely life still wasn't easy. There's still, your family's your family, your home is home. All of that stuff doesn't change. Learning how to navigate that stuff. I think as Native Americans, we deal with death and grief and loss at a higher rate than any other population. And learning that I don't have to go home for everything, that was a big deal for me. For some people it might not be, but I grew up where you support your community, and that meant being there for everything. And I had to learn that supporting people doesn't mean I have to be physically present all the time. And putting myself and my career goals first had to really change in order for me to be successful. So I still dealt with a lot of that during pharmacy school. It's like going home. Not to say I didn't go home a lot. I still did, at least twice a month. And it's 4 hours from here. So I did make that a priority still, to go home and see grandma and get fed and babied and, get grounded again and then come back and get back at it. I did a PGY1 residency at Health Point, which at that time, pharmacy residency was sort of new. I did a AmCare PGY1 residency. I didn't have to do a second year. So it was kind of a hybrid program. And this is in Kent, which is South Seattle area. I did a 1 year there, and then I was back in 1 year. I definitely knew I wanted to come back to Montana, and started working for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe. I kind of found it hard during my career. Like I said, I graduated in 2010, so it's been about 15 years. And over that time, I really had a hard time finding my place in pharmacy. I liked what I was doing, but personally, I had to find out what environment I was comfortable in. Like I said, I can't change my family. The addiction's still there. Everything else is still there, and having people to really just relate to, and also still being able to take care of patients, being intellectually stimulated, and then, just not a lot of people who know my story are like, I can't believe you actually made it through. Like, you didn't give up, all of these challenges, and having coworkers who really understand that and know what what I've been through, and then also know that I'm, able to work and really care for patients and do my job at the same time. But finding comfortable space to do that in was difficult. So I always knew I would work with underserved populations, so I also worked at Partnership Health Center for a little bit. And then I went back to the tribe and moonlighted with St. Joseph, where I kind of got my acute care emergency room experience there. And then I worked for Albertsons for a little bit and then found myself back at IHS, where I've really found home. The patients relate to me. They know who I am. They know where I come from. They're comfortable asking me things that they won't normally ask another professional, because they know that I'm not going to judge them. They know my family. They know the things that I've been through, and they aren't afraid to ask me anything. I've had colleagues come to me with addiction problems, and they're just open because they know, like, I'm not better than anyone else. I came through the struggles of it, and they can confide in me without feeling judged for anything. So, but also IHS allows me to work as a clinical pharmacist, so I get to see patients directly, work in Coumadin Clinic. I worked at IHS during COVID when we were strapped for employees. We're supposed to be a team of 10, and we were down to 3 people during that time. So we were working very, very hard, making sure people were taken care of. In Browning, we run about 800 to 1,000 prescriptions a day. We are the only pharmacy on the reservation serving the entire population.
How much was that again? How many scripts a day?
About 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your staff like?
Right now we have 10, but we had 3 during COVID.
In the same volume?
During the same volume,
Wow.
yeah, because the people stay there. A lot of people retired or left or whatever was going on with their life at that point. Yeah. And yeah, it was tough. We had inpatient, we were only doing 6 beds at that time because of staffing as well. But we have an emergency room, which is critical care access. So they assess, stabilize, and ship if they're needing to have a higher level of care. And then we have a outpatient ambulatory care pharmacy as well, which serves the community. So it was definitely it was about 3 years of that. Yeah, I left there and went to Little Shell, which is in Great Falls, Montana, still part of IHS. I transferred within IHS and worked for them for a year. They're a new facility, and the Blackfeet Community Hospital reached out to me and asked if I would be their clinical informatics pharmacist. So now I live in Great Falls and work remotely for Browning. I go up once a week, where I still get to interact with the team, see the providers, go see, all of the people within the clinics and the inpatient ward. Still make sure that people know I'm there and who I am, and that I'm available and accessible for them. What does that mean, informatics pharmacy? I never thought I'd be in informatics. It's definitely its own little niche. So I work directly with our providers and clinical staff to build our menus, drug menus, on the back side of that. So we do guideline directed menu, so that we also have a closed formulary. I don't know if people know what that is, but IHS has a restricted drug list. So we don't carry everything. We don't carry the newest of the new. We make sure that everything is, relevant to our community. and that it's a guideline recommended medication. So it's a closed formulary. Patients have to be registered at our clinic and eligible to receive services there in order to fill outpatient prescriptions. And they can access the emergency. Anybody can access the emergency room, but you have to be a member of or a direct descendant of a federally recognized tribe to receive services there. But so based on our limited formulary, I help the providers build a specific menu for whatever disease state. So it's very specific to our facility. And then if we need new drugs added to our system, I do that type of stuff. And I also work with the other clinical informaticists across the state, not always pharmacists. Some of them are nurses. Some of them come directly from IT, but we all work as a team to build also templates, like documentation templates, those type of things. IT doesn't have a strong background, of course, in drug therapy, so that's why they have pharmacists doing the drug menus, so we make sure that the right dose, right directions, all of that stuff is in for the providers. It's really, really been a good path for me personally. I get to still work with IHS. I'm on Teams a lot, so I'm still communicating with our whole team, not only the pharmacy, but all of our other colleagues in the other departments. So this used to be our little crew. This was at the end of COVID. This is Jency Parker, who is now Jency Moore. She came back right at the end of COVID. So this was our little team here. These colleagues of mine have been really instrumental in helping me find a home in pharmacy. And then this is us running the Bozeman Half Marathon this past summer. So we definitely made family. Rich actually works in Denver, Colorado now. He was a float pharmacist that was coming in to help with staffing problems, or helping with staffing basically. He worked for IHS for 120 days. This is Quinn. He's a alum. I'm pretty close to Quinn. He's also a descendant of Little Shell, works for Albertsons. And then this guy is Kenny. He works in Kansas, but worked in Browning for a little bit. So I definitely found you're kind of stuck with everybody in a box, especially if you're working ambulatory or retail pharmacy for 40 plus hours a week. So finding a team that you work well with, that you guys kind of work on the same wavelength is really important in pharmacy, because you see them more than you see your family most of the time. So tips for success. So this is kind of stems back to what I was talking about, what I struggled with during pharmacy school. Like I said, I didn't really realize that I grew up different than most people. Well, the majority of Montana, when I go home, just like everybody else, But finding cultural identity was really important. It still is important for me. I'm still learning. My grandparents went to mission schools. On my mom's side, they had 12 kids, and they didn't teach one of their kids how to speak Blackfeet because they went to boarding school. So I struggled with finding my identity when I got here. Like, who am I? People ask that I'm Native. What does that mean for me? So I struggled with that for a bit. And places like this, like the Pain Center, like the Native American Center of Excellence, helped to really ground myself on campus and find people that were like me. And we're not always in the same field of study, but you can go and laugh and visit and let some steam off, and you're all in the same struggle. Basically, you're all on campus, you're all aiming at the same goal, and finding that campus community is really, really important. I visited Erica's office a lot. She's still in the same office. But yeah, so finding people that can support you, you know, maybe you have a question and they can't answer that, but they always know where to point you. They know who can help you and where to go. So that's really important. Also the, what I always called the Urban Indian Center or the Indian Center, which now changed its name on me. You know, I access that a lot. They put on a lot of family-oriented events and really help you get connected to the community, like round dances, potlucks. We all like to eat and visit and, you know, laugh and just socialize and connect. That was really important for me, and I believe there's still a big part of this community and helping bring people together and keeping people connected. And then I kind of learned this term just more recently about being bicultural. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but trying to live in two different worlds and figure out actually who you are. So coming here, this is a whole different culture than I grew up in. You know, campus culture is different. But then also trying to figure out who I was internally, my identity, who I was. So I have been fortunate to be able to participate in ceremony and really like taking that identity on, and that's really, really humbled me. And my degree means nothing when I walk in there, you know. I'm just like everybody else, and it's really grounding to be in that space and be able to just feel the whole energy of it. This is actually a picture of my grandson this summer getting his Blackfeet name here. And this is Leonard Weasel Traveler. I don't know if you guys know his name, but he's very influential elder in the Blackfeet community. He's not only what mainstream thinks of an elder, an older person. We don't, an elder in Blackfeet is somebody who carries knowledge and community, recognizes that knowledge and seeks that knowledge. So it's kind of a teacher of sorts. So not just somebody that's older than you. And him and his wife Audrey have been a really big part of our lives, and helping our kids grow up in a meaningful way, and knowing who they are and where they come from. And then this picture, actually, see this shadow of the two warriors? This is right across the lake from my dad's house. You only can catch this shadow every once in a while when the sun hits it perfectly, so I had to put that in there because that's home. My dad lives, like I said, on the northern border of the Blackfeet Reservation right next to Glacier National Park, so he has the best views in the world every single morning. But all of this, the cultural identity, finding community, all of that really helps you build who you are, become comfortable in your own skin on campus, and helps you be self-reliant. The support network here will be here even. I've reached out to Erica probably 5, 6, maybe even 7 years after I graduate, you know. The faculty and staff here are great. When I went to residency, I did notice, for those of you that are in pharmacy, our state and our school really does do a good job at helping you be a well-rounded pharmacist and exposing you to all the areas, because we are small, but we are also a progressive teaching community. So you kind of get exposed to everything. When I went to residency in Seattle, my co-residents, they had everything available, but you may have to travel from one end of the Puget Sound to the next, which isn't always practical. So they were really limited by where they lived or where they were doing residency and what they were able to actually do, unless they were willing to commute with the city traffic. So I think we do a really good job here at making sure you're exposed to nearly everything, or anything that you want to be exposed to, you have access to here. I was asked to talk about also the barriers to healthcare, and this kind of brings up my history as I was talking about. This is something I struggled with for a long time when I started working, is like explaining to my colleagues how all of this stuff comes together in a person's decision to access health care, to take care of themselves in a primary care way, like I'm gonna go do preventative care. We grew up in a culture where, and it still is like this on the reservation, where we access health care for acute health care. I don't go to the doctor unless something is wrong with me. And I'm gonna wait until I know something is wrong with me till I go. I'm not gonna go at any hint. I'm gonna make sure that something is. And the reason that is because a lot of people have other things going on that they feel like is more important to them. They don't have food. They, don't have access to even a vehicle or need to catch a ride. My mom had breast cancer, and at the time she didn't have a vehicle, so she would catch a transit from Browning over to Kalispell for her appointments. And she's not the only one on the transit, so you get there in the morning, you do your appointment, you're sick, you wait for everybody else to do their appointments, and then you go back, which is a 2-hour drive. So, it takes a lot of motivation to want to access healthcare when you're in those situations where you have a lot of other life stuff going on. So when we think of barriers to healthcare, this is just now being recognized, and it's not really barriers to healthcare. The term that they're using is social determinants of health. So what else is going on in your life? What is your health literacy? What is all of this stuff? What neighborhood are you growing up in? I grew up 40 miles from the nearest hospital. My parents didn't always have a vehicle, so I didn't, we only went to the doctor when we had to go to the doctor, much less take a medication on a regular basis. So all of these things, I know people sometimes can get stuck in their own personal situation and their own experiences, but these are definitely still part of these communities where they're underserved and they have a whole lot more going on in life than thinking about their annual primary care visit. So bringing that into and understanding patients is really important. This is another picture of the same thing, where you come from, the experiences in your life, the acute problems in your life. Those all influence healthcare and access to healthcare, and what do you even accept in Western medicine as well. So just something, I won't go on and on about it, but it's something that I always struggled to verbalize, I guess, with my colleagues. People are like, it's once a year, why don't they come in? And then the other thing is, we still are having really big issue with primary care providers. So, you know, we might have 15,000 patients and 8 providers. How are we seeing each of those people once a year if they're not coming through the emergency room when something's wrong, only when something's wrong? So having access to providers is a really, really big issue on reservations and in the Indian Health Service, and they do the best they can do to see as many people as they can see. So that's one of the other issues. People get frustrated, they try to make appointments, and my appointment's, you know, 2 months out, and now I got all this other life stuff going on, so they might not even come in when that happens. So just keep in mind, be open to that, what else is going on in people's lives when you're taking care of people in these situations. There's a picture of my kids. As you can see, all of us revolve around this little guy now. That's my grandson. So anybody have any questions? Thank you. No?
I do.
Yeah.
If I can, thanks. I'm interested in your practice if you see crossover with native indigenous plant medicine and how you work with that.
I guess it really depends on the person and what their outlook is on Western medicine. I think most people who are culturally connected are going to access indigenous medicine or plant medicine before they come to Western medicine, because a lot of the times they have more trust in that, and they've seen, you know, whatever they're looking for. Most of the time they see the results they're looking for when they do access traditional Native American medicine. So most people who are, this is really a hard question because our reservation, I can speak for my experience, but our reservation, there's a lot of mistrust still with Western medicine. And so we're coming to a point where we're realizing that connecting to our culture and our traditions and our older medicine, Blackfeet medicine, is really more important right now than going to seek out traditional Western medicine. And so we're in this period, I feel like, it kind of ties all together as well. Like I don't speak Blackfeet. I know a few words. I can introduce myself. My kids can speak more Blackfeet than I can. And so the trust with Western medicine and Western society is a struggle, I think, still. So people do seek out other, you know, they seek out information and medicine from people they trust. So if Western medicine is where their trust is, that's where they'll go first. So I think it just depends on the person.
I think my question is more about, you know, if you have contraindications, right, with a Western drug, a blood thinner or something, and then if a person's using plant medicine, you know, where they exacerbate each other, or then you need to educate them, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Stop it, right?
definitely. I think for the most part, people that come to the pharmacy that are getting medications, we ask for naturopathic medicines. Most of the time, the medicines that you're taking that are plant-based medicines aren't medicines that you're going to be taking long-term if you're using them for you know, acute reasons. So most of the time, it's not going to be an issue. So there's few medicines that are going to be really important that are taken long term, and that's not a common practice on the reservations. especially when, you know, people are struggling to get food, they're not buying naturopathic medicines. But it's more like roots and teas and stuff like that, which aren't going to be in high concentrations anyhow, unless you're taking a supplement. So, any other question?
All of the places you've worked, have you ever had a conflict in which, because it looks like a very amount of places, in which patient care started to become secondary to profits? And if you ever had to deal with that mindset of like, why am I doing this?
No, I haven't. The reason my experience is finding where I fit best, where I was comfortable, and finding my space to be a pharmacist, but also be a mom. I always have a busy outside of work life. I have 4 kids. I had 2 during pharmacy school, and then 2 right after pharmacy school. So finding the work-life balance was more of an issue for me than having colleagues that or businesses that put patient care second. I think COVID was an extreme to that, because I felt like all healthcare was, you know, put in a situation where sometimes patient care wasn't always the best, but it wasn't because the company or the employees made it that way. It was just the circumstances. So no, I didn't. Most of my colleagues have been UM grads and around the state, and I think we do a really good job at like pushing professionalism and making people be accountable, especially because the program's rigorous and you have to be accountable to finish, you know? So I didn't really experience that in my yeah. So who's all pharmacy students here? No?
No.
You're a pharmacist,
Yes.
okay?
I know Quinn.
Oh, you know Quinn,
I
okay.
worked in Great Falls for 5.5 years, and I actually applied at the Little Shell Health Center like before they even opened.
Okay.
They announced it in February of 2020, and it took a long time to open.
That's the other big issue with government hiring is it's like a 6 to 9 month process. And when you're a student, you need money now when you're just getting done. So waiting to be hired and onboarded and you know, figuring that stuff out is difficult, but it's definitely one of the best work environments to be in as far as work-life balance and being able to be kind of have the freedoms to do whatever clinical pharmacy you want to do. We have a really supportive healthcare system. So. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for student success professionals to help Blackfeet students feel comfortable and at home on campus, help them find that sense of community?
I would say a lot of the times students they'll have an acute issue. So having your door open and being accessible is really important. Also having an open mind to whatever is going on, because they're not going to tell you everything that's going on. It took a long time for me to actually accept that, you know, I have, my mother's an addict or was an addict. I'm surrounded with all of this dysfunction, and it took a long time for me to actually accept that internally and not, you know, be like, that's not a reflection of me. So students have a lot going on that they're not gonna always open up and tell you. But having your door open and being accessible is definitely the first step to getting there. Also food. You know, having a safe environment and be in a friendly environment, accessible environment, that's definitely important. I don't know if you do you work in this building?
My colleague and I are with Trio Upward Bound.
Okay.
And so we have a 6-week experience on campus.
Oh, yeah.
And majority of students from Browning and Parkview who will live on campus for 6 weeks will eat at the lodge now. So we really work hard to try to create that sense of community, make it a very welcoming and supportive environment. And it's been very rewarding work for sure.
I know for me, so just to put it in perspective, when I'm navigating things around school, like the high school or any businesses back home, like I said, my mom had 11 siblings, and the extended family is huge. So I can walk into some place and see a familiar face and I'm not afraid to ask. When people come here, especially if they grew up on the reservation, it's a little daunting. It's intimidating to have all these new faces and having the courage to walk up to somebody that you don't know and, you know, feel comfortable asking for help is huge. So it took me a long time to actually, that's why I went to, Erica was familiar, Estella was familiar, I went straight to their office. But being that familiar face is really important because they will come to you if you're, you know, open to answering questions or pointing them in the right direction. That took me a long time actually to be like, I'm just gonna go over to this, you know, to the math building and look for tutoring. I had somebody else do that for me for a long time. So being comfortable with that and being comfortable just asking strangers for help is hard. I think the kids that do attend Upward Bound are comfortable because they have their friends and kids that came from the reservation, and so they make their little community during their 6 weeks. But I think if they came and it wasn't, you know, kids that they were comfortable with, I think they'd have a whole different experience. Yeah.
All right, so if there isn't any questions, I'd just like to thank Amber for coming on behalf of the Native American Center of Excellence. We are presenting her with a gift, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you join me in giving a round of applause.